Hello, and this is Delia again. We're on chapter 7, and this will be part 7. Okay, we were up here at the top. It said, there were pools of impenetrable darkness everywhere. It's just the ball on top. Nothing to be scared of, said Tyler, pulling her with him off the path and up to the shining headstone. It was made of red marble, and the huge ball that surmounted it reminded her of the bloated moon on the horizon. Now that same moon shone down on them, as white as Thomas Fell's white hands. Elena couldn't contain her shivering. Poor baby, she's cold. Got to get her warmed up, said Tyler. Elena tried to push him away, but he was too strong, wrapping her in his arms, pulling her against him. Tyler, I want to go. I want to go now, right now. Sure, baby, we'll go, he said. But we've got to get you warm first. Gosh, you're cold. Tyler, stop, she said. His arms around her had merely been annoying and restricting, but now with a sense of shock, she felt his hands on her body, groping for bare skin. Never in her life had Elena been in a situation like this, far away from any help. She aimed a spiked heel for his patient leather instep, but he evaded her. Tyler, take your hands off of me. Come on, Elena, don't be like that. I just want to warm you up all over. Tyler, let go, she choked out. She tried to wrench herself away from him. Tyler stumbled, and then his full weight was on her, crushing her into the tangle of ivy and weeds on the ground. Elena spoke desperately. I'll kill you, Tyler. I mean it. Get off of me. Tyler tried to roll off, giggling suddenly, his limbs heavy and uncoordinated, almost useless. Oh, come on, Elena. Don't be mad. I was just warming you up. Elena, the ice princess, warming up. You're getting warm now, aren't you? Then Elena felt his mouth, hot and wet on her face. She was still pinned beneath him, and his sloppy kisses were moving down her throat. She heard cloth tear. Oops, Tyler mumbled. Sorry about that. Elena twisted her head, and her mouth met Tyler's hand, clumsily caressing her cheek. She bit it, sinking her teeth into the fleshy palm. She bit hard, tasting blood, hearing Tyler's agonizing yowl. The hand jerked away. Hey, I said I was sorry. Tyler looked aggrievedly at his maimed hand. Then his face darkened. As still staring at it, he clenched the hand into a fist. This is it, Elena thought, with nightmare calmness. He's either going to knock me out or kill me. She braced herself for the blow. Stephen had resisted coming into the cemetery. Everything within him had cried out against it. The last time he'd been here had been the night of the old man. Horror shifted through his gut again at the memory. He would have sworn that he had not drained the man under the bridge, that he had not taken enough blood to do harm. But everything that night, after the surge of power, was muddled, confused. If there had been a surge of power at all, perhaps that had been his own imagination, or even his own doing. Strange things could happen when the need gets out of control. He shut his eyes when he'd heard that the old man was hospitalized, near death. His shock had been beyond words. How could he have let himself get so far out of hand, to kill almost, when he had not killed since? He wouldn't let himself think about that. Now, standing in front of the cemetery gate in the midnight darkness, he wanted nothing so much as to turn around and go away. Go back to the dance where he left Caroline, that supple, sun-bronzed creature who was absolutely safe. because she meant absolutely nothing to him. But he couldn't go back because Elena was in the cemetery. He could sense her and sense her rising distress. Elena was in the cemetery and in trouble, and he had to find her. He was halfway up the hill when the dizziness hit. It sent him reeling, struggling on toward the church, because it was the only thing he could keep in focus. Gravy waves of fog swept through his brain, and he fought to keep moving. Weak. He felt so weak and helpless against the sheer power of this vertigo. He needed to go to Elena, but he was weak. He couldn't be weak. If he were to help Elena, he needed to. The church door yawned before him. Elena saw the moon over Tyler's left shoulder. It was strangely fitting that it would be the last thing she ever saw, she thought. The scream had caught in her throat, choked off by her fear, and then something picked Tyler up and threw him against his grandfather's headstone. That was what it looked like to Elena. She rolled to the side, gasping, one hand clutching her torn dress, and the other groping for a weapon. She didn't need one. Something moved in the darkness, and she saw the person who had plucked Tyler off of her, Stefan Salvatore. But it was Stefan she had never seen before. That fine-featured face was white and cold with fury, and there was a killing light in those green eyes. Without even moving, Stefan emanated such anger and menace that Elena found herself more frightened of him than she had been of Tyler. Okay, so I'm going to go on to 8. This next part will be Chapter 7, Part 8.